Check out how I used my home studio to create this ad for ISlide. Alright, for this next product video, I'm going to be doing a drop for the new white royal colorway for this company called ISlide. I really want to double down on the royal blue elements of the slide, and so when I walk you through the set, you'll be seeing how I'm going to try to bring in some additional elements to really emphasize that. So I'm about to shoot the first scene. I'm using a couple different lights pretty strategically to really emphasize some texture and color. So I'll walk you through that and show you guys how each one is playing a role in lighting this how I envisioned it. So with that, let's dive into the first set. The first light is the key light. This is the Amaran 200XS with an Amaran Light Dome Mini SE. The second light is the fill light. This is the Amaran 100XS with an Aperture Light Dome 3. The third light is an accent light. And this is an Aperture MT Pro tube light where I created a nice blue tone using the RGB settings. The fourth light is a little kick light. It's also an Aperture MT Pro tube light, but without any color tint. And the last light is another accent light to illuminate the back of the footbed more to really emphasize the texture. This is an Amaran P60C panel light. For the set, I'm using the Thunder Gray seamless backdrop paper from Savage. Below the slide, I have a royal blue piece of fabric that I bunched up to have a velvet look to it. For the camera, I'm rolling on a Canon R5C with a Sigma 18-35 f1.8 art lens. So for this first shot, it's actually going to be the second shot in the actual storyboard, but it makes sense to film it first because I'm going to be doing a match cut. And I'm going to be match cutting in the final edit from the slide on this concrete backdrop where the slide is completely grayed out. Then I'm going to animate in a blue dropper, grabbing the royal blue color swatch and dropping it onto the slide. And from that point is where the match cut takes place, where it's going to kind of animate the slide a little bit and jolt, and the next thing you know, it's going to be sitting on the velvet blue backdrop with all of the accent lighting. So in order to make that as seamless as possible, it makes sense to shoot the one on the velvet first, because after that I can just simply pick up the slide, pull the velvet out from underneath, and then put the slide back down, so it'll be in roughly the same place. After I get this first shot, it's also important to grab a clean plate without the slide, since I'm going to be animating this separately from the backdrop. So after I grab this first take, I'm going to pick up the slide, get a few seconds of the clean plate, put the slide back down, and then get ready for the next shot, which is going to be the same position, but on the concrete background and without the accent lights. So with that, let's dive into the first shot. And I'm rolling. I'm going to get a few seconds of this, probably a good 10 seconds. That's super easy. Now I'm going to get the clean plate. Put this roughly back where we just had it. And now for this next shot, I'm going to be sliding the lights away as well as the blue fabric and trying to keep the slide roughly in the same position to get the next shot, which is actually the first shot in the edited ad. Well, first I'm actually gonna grab a shot with the lighting similar to how I had it for that, because I'm gonna have to animate the slides separately. So I will grab one take with the lighting still with the blue accent real quick. And now what I'm going to do is turn off the blue accent lighting. I think I might turn off the panel light as well. And I'm using the Sidus Link app from Aperture here. I made sure for all my lighting, I bought Aperture and Amaran lights, which are owned by the same company, Aperture. You can then control everything from this. So instead of running around and jumping all over the cords, I can simply just stand here, look at my viewfinder, and dial in the lighting from one position. So for example, I want to try this scene without the Amaran accent light. So I just go over to here and I'm going to kill that. And now I can compare it with it off and on. So for consistency, I will do a take with this as is. So it's the same as the last scene. The only difference is I turn the blue accent light off. And then the last thing I need to get for these first two shots is a clean plate of this concrete surface with the black backdrop. Just roll on this. And here's what those raw clips looked like. Okay, and just like that, within a few minutes, we just got the first couple of scenes for our final product ad. So next, we're gonna do probably the next hardest scene, or probably the hardest scene, which is going to be the floating slide. So if you guys watched my last video with the Vans commercial, I did a similar effect where the Vans shoe was floating. I'm gonna do a similar technique with this because I think it works really well for footwear commercials. So I'm going to set up that next scene now and I'll walk you through the setup for that. For this shot, I'm using a C-stand fitted with a grip arm. So I'm gonna try to suspend this. Let me move the camera, you guys can't even see this. I then attach fishing line around the slide and the arm to suspend it. For the lighting, I dialed most of my lights way down, so the intensity on the key and fill are dialed down to like 20 and 10%. And then I dialed both of the Aperture MT Pro tube lights to be this blue color. You can see by how it's reflecting off the gray surface. That'll give you a better idea. And then I set my camera to be able to record in slow motion. So I'm on 120 frames per second, and then I changed the shutter to 240. It has a really cool look to it where it's floating and it has those two blue accent lights on either side. So I'm gonna record probably 30 seconds or so of it rotating. And then I'm also going to get a clean plate as well as a handheld version of it rotating. And we should be good for the floating slide shot. So let's do that. All right, that should be good. Now I'm gonna record a clean plate really quick. Oh. And this is what those raw shots looked like. In post, I drew a mask to remove the fishing line. I duplicated the clip 2 more times and keyframed them to look like they split to show off all angles of the slide. A little smoke overlay and sound effects, and this shot looked great. For the next scene, I have the slide being held by some white gloves to double down on the royal theme. I went back to 60 FPS, adjusted my shutter to 120, and switched to autofocus to assure the image was sharp while I held the slide. This shot was a little tricky trying to figure out the best angle and keep my hand steady. I'll reach over the camera like this. Whew. And here's that raw clip. I'm going to be using this black acrylic backdrop. This is gonna give us some really cool reflections and make it look really high end. So this will be pretty cool. This is actually my first time doing a light sweep. I'm using the panel light for the sweep and turned off all the other lights. Cool, I like that. I might even try using this little Aperture MC light to illuminate the footbed there because I am not really getting the blue up in this area. So let me just grab one with this. And then in post, I'll probably just add some digital zooms or something just to keep this more interesting. I switched to my Canon RF 200mm f2.8 macro lens to get the remaining detail shots. For some shots, I prop the slides up on these black foam blocks to give them more dimension. I switched back to the Sigma 18-35 to grab a couple final shots before moving on to the hero shot. For the hero shot, I used scrap cardboard boxes and the styrofoam blocks to create a mound shape to put the blue velvet over. I lowered the tripod so I could have a low angle looking up at the product so it would appear more regal and powerful. All right, I think that looks good. And I think that is a wrap. Yup, it is a wrap. This shoot went really smoothly, especially since I was still in the footwear mindset after recently wrapping on the Vans shoot a week earlier. Be sure to check out that video if you haven't already. I have the storyboard for the next video coming in hot. You'll see what I mean soon, but it's going to be a fun one, so stay tuned for that. And as always, I appreciate you guys for checking out my videos.